You ever wonder why two companies in the exact same industry can feel like they're on completely different planets? Why one office feels creative and energetic, and another one, just down the street, feels super intense and rigid? Well, today we're going to decode the invisible force behind all of this, the thing that really shapes our entire work lives, organizational culture. And we're going to start with a story.
So I want you to meet Sarah and Ahmed. Both are amazing software engineers, and they both got hired in the very same week. Sarah, she starts at Google. Her first day, it's just a whirlwind of colorful buildings. There are literally slides between floors, and her manager asks for her ideas from hour one. Now, Ahmed, he starts at Goldman Sachs. He shows up to this huge, imposing glass tower. He's wearing a brand new suit, and his first assignment is basically, here's the task, the deadline is Friday, go.
So what is going on here? You've got two brilliant people starting pretty similar jobs in the same week, and yet their experiences could not be more different. What explains that massive gap between their two worlds?
Well, the answer isn't just random chance, and it's not just about their individual managers. It's one incredibly powerful, totally invisible force: culture. Think of it like the unwritten rulebook for a company. It dictates everything, from what you wear, to how you talk, to whether your ideas even get a chance to be heard.
The guy who really cracked this code was an MIT professor named Edgar Schein. He defined it perfectly. He said culture is basically a pattern of shared assumptions that a group learns over time and then teaches to all the new people who join. It's not just some mission statement hanging on a wall. It's the group's real answer to the question, how do we actually do things around here to survive and succeed?
And here's where it gets really, really interesting. Shane said you should think about culture like an iceberg. Only about 10% of it is visible, sticking out of the water. The other 90%, the most powerful part, is totally hidden beneath the surface. And if you want to truly understand a company's culture, you have to look underwater.
So that little tip of the iceberg, the part we can see, Schein called those artifacts. This is all the stuff you can see, hear, and feel. Think back to Sarah's first day at Google. The open office plan, the casual dress code, the slides between floors. All of those are artifacts. They're super easy to spot, right? But what they actually mean, well, that's not always so obvious.
Now, right below the surface of the water, we find the espoused values. This is what a company says it cares about. It's all the mission statements, the core principles, the stuff you see on their website. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. There can be a huge gap between what a company preaches and what it actually practices day to day.
And that brings us to the massive, invisible base of the iceberg: basic assumptions. Okay, this is the real game changer. These are the unconscious, deeply held beliefs about how the world really works. Are people naturally creative and trustworthy, or do they need to be managed with a firm hand? Is business a battle to be won, or is it a community we're trying to build? These deep beliefs, they drive everything else.
Okay, so let's solve our little puzzle from the beginning. At Google, an artifact like giving engineers 20% time to work on their own projects, that comes from a deep assumption that if you give smart people freedom, they'll do amazing things. Over at Goldman, an artifact like a super strict hierarchy comes from a totally different assumption, that top-down discipline is what ensures excellence and prevents mistakes. The hoodies and the suits, they're just symptoms of these much, much deeper beliefs.
All right, so now we get the model. But why does any of this really matter? I mean, who cares? Well, the answer is simple. Culture isn't some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It is a critical, hardcore driver of performance.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The data on this is staggering. One landmark study followed companies for 11 years. What did they find? Companies with strong, positive cultures saw their revenue grow over 4 times faster than companies with weak cultures. We're talking 682% growth versus 166%. That is not a small difference. That is a massive, game-winning competitive advantage.
This all leads to one of the most famous sayings in business. From the legendary Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast. What does that actually mean? It means you can have the most brilliant, genius strategy in the world. But if your culture, the way people actually behave and think, doesn't support it, that strategy is absolutely doomed to fail, every single time.
Now, I know this can all seem a little abstract, but here is the good news. Understanding this stuff is like having a superpower. Seriously. Whether you're looking for a new job or you're leading a team, you can actually learn to decode an organization's culture and figure out if it's the right fit for you.
So how do you do it? Simple. Just use the iceberg as your guide. Step 1. Observe the artifacts. When you're interviewing, look around. What's the office like? What are people wearing? How are meetings run? Step 2. Ask about the espoused values. But don't just ask, what are your values?
Ask smarter questions like, can you tell me about someone who got promoted here recently? What did they do to earn it? That's how you see if their words match reality. And finally, step 3, infer the basic assumptions. Listen for the clues, for the stories they tell that reveal what they truly believe about how to succeed.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Tonight or tomorrow at work, take a look at your own workplace through this new lens. Think about the invisible rules, the shared beliefs, the way things really get done. And ask yourself this: does your company's culture, that deep, powerful, invisible base of the iceberg, does it truly set you and the people around you up to win?